Hello guys, Nigel here with you. Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, we have the light grey mat on the bench, so this is going to be another beginner video. It's a video to help you better your models if you're new to the hobby, brand new, or if you've just got a couple under your belt and there's a few questions you want to ask. I'm trying to answer those questions for you with this little series. So this one is all going to be about decals or decals, depending on which side of the pond you're on. And this is not just about any old decals. This is about art scale kit decals, decals. These are available from ASK distribution, and if you're in the UK or anywhere in the world, if you want to get them, you can get them from Hannants. Hannants is a UK stockist of all ASK distribution items. They do a massive range of masks and decals and all sorts. And the beauty of these decals is different to any other that I know of. With these, you put them down, and then after you've put them down, you can remove the carrier film with lighter fluid. Okay, so some lighter fluid here. And that's what we're going to do in this video. So the first part of the video will be about using decals, using them on gloss, using them on matte, cutting them, how to put them down and all that sort of stuff. And then there'll be a little pause, a couple of hours for me, a couple of seconds for you if that. And then we're going to come back and see how they perform with the lighter fluid. Now for this test, if you go back a couple of days on my channel, you'll see I did a review of, I think it was 10 sets of decals, and it was basically for two Japanese aircraft, namely the Frank and the Val. Now I don't have the Frank kit. I would like to get one, I think I probably will. And Peter sent me all the stencils and 4 sets of decals for this aircraft. Now one of the sets is in Chinese and the People's Liberated Army Air Force. Royal, what is it? I can't remember now. ROCF, what does it stand for? Republic of China Air Force, that's it. Republic of China Air Force and People's Liberated Army Air Force. Now, even if I do get one, I won't be building it in the Chinese scheme. I will probably do it in the captured American scheme. So you can see in here, we've got 3 lovely schemes in there. So for beginners, when you get aftermarket decals, or even if you've got the decals that you've got in your kit, I'm going to say decals because I'm in the UK, so please don't pull me up and say it should be decals, because it actually should be decals, I believe. But anyway, who cares? It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Please don't comment on it. So basically what you've got is a choice here of 3 aircraft. So this could be a set of kit instructions, and they're giving you 3 choices. So you choose the one you want to do, and then you go into the more detailed look, and here you can see if you've chosen this one, it's telling you which decals to put in which place. Okay, so when you take your sheet, this is an aftermarket sheet, but your kit parts will be very similar, and it's basically saying that here is number 5, so there is number 5. So you'd put a number 5 on each side. See, there's number 5 there, number 5 there. Bottoms of the wings is number 4. It's number 4. Tops of the wings is number 3. It's number 3. And there you go. And also make sure you look at the placement, because sometimes, as you can see here, you've got the points here going vertical at the top. So that one there needs to, you don't want to be putting it on radial out, so make sure you get it right. So once you've decided on which scheme you're going to do, you've got your model in front of you. The first thing I always suggest you do, as Peter does in the instructions here, the first thing is apply a gloss coat to the model. The reason for that is, 1, you'll avoid silvering. Now silvering is when the decal goes down and you've got like a silver grey shadow around it, and it's where the carrier film hasn't settled down into the surface. Now if you don't know what carrier film is, I'll show you on here. It might be better to show you on this one actually. Yeah. So on this one here you can see this like lance, whatever it is. If I catch it in the light, you can see it's got a glossy film on it. Yeah. And basically what a decal is, it's like paint or ink or whatever, and then it's got this carrier film on the top of it, and it does exactly what it says. It carries the decal off the paper onto your model, and then it goes down. Now the trouble is with using these on matte paint, where you've got, like you can see here in the corner there, you can see there's like quite a large area of carrier film. So if you get any silvering, it will stick out like a sore thumb. You've probably seen it on models where someone's got like stars and bars or something on there, and they've got all the letters down the side of the fuselage, and there's all this silver shadow around the parts. That's what it is. So we're going to try these on some matte paint as well. So I've got these. This is the Spitfire wing I used for the chipping tutorial. And as you can see, I wrote on there 21st the 7th 23. So that was exactly a week ago, and I've just tested it and I could still chip with it now, so it's okay to go for a week. I think I might test it every week and I'll let you know when it stops, because I know after a certain time it won't work anymore. Well, it certainly didn't on my Lancaster anyway. So what we're going to do, we're going to try them on here. Now this is a matte finish on here, and it's a non-porous finish. So I don't really want to put them on here because it's hairsprayed. I don't know if the water will soak into the paint. It might make the decal lift, so it's not a fair trial. So I'm going to put one on here because it's a non-flat surface. We'll probably put one of those roundels on there if we can, or maybe one of those tail flashings we'll put there, and see how it goes, see how it settles down, see how it goes in, and see how it goes down on a matte surface. And then if we do get any silvering, we should be able to see, if we use the lighter fluid, if we can remove the carrier film, then the silvering should go as well. So these could negate your need for a clear coat, but I always clear coat before decals. I never chance it without. The other thing it does, it seals the surface, so if you do get any problems, you're not going to do any damage on your paintwork. The other thing to remember, if you're using really hot decal setting solutions, now I've got some here. For this test I'm going to use these. Now this is the Mr. Mark, this is the premium hobbies holder for them. So we've got Mr. Mark Setter and Mr. Mark Softer. So we're going to put some of this down first, I think it is, and then we'll put some of that down after. This is what Peter's recommending in his instructions. In here, Setter, Softer, okay? I think maybe it's the blue one first, I can't remember now. I usually use Microsol. This is Microsol here. I will show you. Microset and Sol, again in the premium hobbies holder. Microset and the Sol, you put the set down first and then follow up with the Sol. In fact, we could try both of them, couldn't we? So what I've got here is a this wing here, which is painted with a matte paint, so we'll try that. And then I've got, these are the upper wing halves, and what I've done, I haven't painted them, I've just put a clear coat on them. This is LP9, Tamiya Lacquer Paint 9, and it's just a clear gloss. And as you can see, I haven't gone over the top with the gloss, because you wouldn't normally, if you're going to get an absolutely awesome sheen, generally it means you're putting a lot on or a couple of coats. You don't want to be doing that because you'll lose detail. So what I've got is a fairly shiny surface, but it's not like a car body. Okay, if you're doing a car body, obviously you need a really good shine. So there's lots and lots of different setting solutions. The one I would be careful of is this one, Mr. Mark Fit Super Strong. This one will dissolve paint. Okay, so you have to be really careful with it. I'm not sure if it dissolves LP paints. Let's have a look and see. Let's put some on here. Let's see if it takes it off. Yeah, I think we can see the paint is coming off on my finger. If I grab a piece of tissue, this is a dirty piece I've been using, we can see there the paint is just coming off. So you need to be really careful. Ordinary Tamiya and paint that, just dissolve it straight away. So that's something to bear in mind. So what we're going to do, I'm going to switch the camera off. I'm going to have a read of those instructions and see which way around you use these two. I very rarely use them, to be honest. You can see they're both full and I've had them for years. I generally use the Microset and Sol, so we'll test both. So that's what I'm going to do first of all. In fact, no, actually the first thing I'm going to do is talk about cutting the decals out. You will see a lot of people come on the bench and they will get a rule or something and they'll start cutting the decals out with a knife. Say that's a decal there. They will come along and they will cut the decal out with a knife. Now this is a nice sharp one because I've just changed the blade. But I don't know if you can see it, but what happens when you cut with a knife, in fact if I use a less sharp blade, it will show it a lot better. Okay, so I don't know if you can see it, but if you look on there, I'm not sure you're going to be able to see it, but if you want to try this at home, you'll see what I mean. When you cut with a knife, as the blade cuts through, it's like ploughing a field, and it pushes up an edge as it cuts through. And that edge can make it very difficult to slide the decal off. And it's particularly, what some people do is cut right up to the decal to get rid of the carrier film. And if you do that on the decal, you will end up with a sharp edge on the decal, a hard edge, because it's lifted. What you should do is always use scissors. Now I've got a pair of scissors here, which are dedicated to decaling. This is what I use for my decals, these tiny little scissors here. I never use anything else. So if I want to cut this fin flash out of here, I come along, staying away from the decal, just like so, and cut it out. Okay, just like that. And now we've got, you can see there's a nice sharp edge. I don't know if you can hear it, but no, you can't. It's very difficult to show you. I need a microscope to show you, but on that edge there, you can try this at home. Get a knife, cut it, and you'll see there's a lifted edge. Unless, like this, the blade is brand new, but it won't stay brand new for more than 2 or 3 cuts cutting paper, because it's the best way to blunt a blade. So get yourself some lovely scissors and use them only for decals. The other thing to do, you can see this number 9 here, or is it 6? It's a 9. Not that it matters. Cut that off. Don't ever leave the numbers on the decal, because when you put it in the water, they will float off. And particularly, you don't want bits of letter in your water and everything, because they'll get on your decal. Particularly if they get underneath the white bit, you don't want them showing through, do you? So that's the first thing about cutting decals. Always use scissors, never use a knife. Okay? Unless you absolutely have to. Like you'll get some kit decals, they'll have all this and then they'll have an instrument panel in the middle here. I mean, you could cut up through there and go around, but sometimes it's a bit risky, so you might just use a knife to go around it. That's absolutely fine. But what you might want to do is just clip one of the edges with the scissors so you can slide it off. But sometimes you'll find the decal won't actually slide off over that. I can feel it, I can't show you it. So the next thing is water. Right, a lot of people buy these little heat trays and that to keep their water warm and everything. I've just got warm water here out of the tap. That's all I'm going to use. It's just some warm water. It's just off cold. It's not really warm. It doesn't need to be that hot. Some decals, like some of the Hobby Boss and especially Tamiya, and they're really thick, it's best to get some hot water on there. You can go on and start using hair dryers to heat them after they're on and everything, but that's going advanced. This is all about beginners and showing you how to use these ASK decals, and also showing you how to use decals in general, or my way of doing it. It's not the only way. There are a lot of people that would disagree with what I'm doing. Some people put their microset in the water, some people use vinegar, some people use blotting paper, some people use paper towel, whatever. So I'm going to turn the camera off now, get myself ready, and then we'll start putting some down. Right, so I've read the instructions on these, on the softer and the setter, and basically they both say put a drop on the model before you apply the decal, but only this one says to apply afterwards. So I'm going to put this one on first, this one after. So it's going to be like set and sole. And then with the micro set and sole, you always put the set down first, and then you put set down after, and then you put a sole down. And that's what helps it all go in. What you're looking for here is that painted on look. You don't want, you've got all this lovely recessed lines and rivets and everything in there. When you put the decal down, you want it to go down into all those rivets. The last thing you want is for the decal, if this was a Spitfire, or is a Spitfire, if you had an RAF roundel on it, the last thing you want is it to look like a piece of cardboard that's just been put on top. You want it to go down in like it's been painted on. The best way to get painted on decals is to paint them on using masks, but this is the next best option. And if these go down well and you can remove the carrier film, they're probably going to be very close to as good, because I can imagine painting that with masks would not be easy. So let's start with this one here. So I put on here S and S. That's some soft, set and softer. This one's set and sole, so micro set and sole. Okay, what I'd probably better do on there is put an M, and that's a Mr. Hobby, Mr. H, there we go. Okay, so we'll know which is which. So, first thing to do, get a piece of paper towel at the ready, piece of blotting paper, anything, and follow the decal manufacturer's instructions. Look on there, because sometimes they'll say put it in the water, take it out straight away. Sometimes they'll say soak them for 30 seconds. Sometimes, as in this case, 10 seconds. So what Peter's saying here, we'll take one of these here. What Peter's saying here is to submerge this completely in the water for 10 seconds. Now sometimes people say put them upside down to stop them curling up on themselves. I don't frankly see the difference in having it curling up that way or that way. I don't see the difference. So that's been in there for 10 seconds. So we can take it out with some tweezers, shake off the excess water, place it on some blotting paper. Then we can get our Mr. Mark softer. This is the one in the green bottle. And we're just going to paint this. Where are we going to put it? We'll put it here. We can just paint this on the surface. And as you can see, what's happening, it's not going on the surface because it's not a matte surface. If it was a matte surface, it would go around. So we just put a drop on like that, and then when we put the decal down, capillary action will pull it through. Now, to see if the decal's ready to go, we just get one finger, make sure that finger's clean, perhaps even dip it in the water, and just slide it on the paper. The reason you want to make sure that finger's clean is if your skin is the slightest bit sticky, especially with a smaller decal, you might find you take your finger away and the decal just curls up onto your finger, and that's going to ruin your day. So we got that drop of Mr. Mark Softer there. So I'm going to get my decal in the right position, and that arrow is going to face forward, I'm guessing. Let's have a look. Yes, that arrow's facing forward. So we've got our panel lines to line up, so we want to get this arrow lined up with those panel lines, and what we want to do is get it roughly positioned in exactly where we want it before we start. So you place the whole thing down like that. I've got the paper on an angle, and I'm just going to slide the decal off onto the model like so. Don't push down, put the paper to one side, and then using your finger you can position the decal how you want it to go. If it starts to play up, grab your brush, wherever my brush has gone. Where's my brush gone? Where has my brush gone? Oh no, I'll have to use this little one. I just had it in my hand just now. It's there, there it is. So I'm going to use my brush with water and just get plenty of water, and water will capillary under, and that should make it easier to move. Okay, so we can get under the edge like that and just move it into the position we want it to go into. As you can see, there we go, it's on the move now, and that front edge is still stuck down. So as you can see, we've managed to break away the stiction of it being down, and we can get it lined up with our panel lines. Okay, it's very difficult to see the panel lines. We've got a little bump there as well, which is good. We'll see how it goes down over that. So what we'll do is we can look at we can see the panel line here with the rivets, or the rivet line should I say, and I can see the rivet line there. So I can line it up on that, and there we go, and that's how we want it. Okay, so that's that. Now there's two options here. You can come along with a piece of paper towel and push down on it, or you can get a cotton bud and you can roll over the top. Okay, just like so, and there's that bulge there which is making it wrinkle. And as you can see, we've got water, decal setting solution and air coming out from underneath it. So we can roll over it. And I can see already these things are going down beautifully. It's already settling in to the panel lines and the rivets already. So that is really, really good. This is the first time I've actually used these decals. I'm going to come along with the brush and get underneath, because the carrier film is tucked under there by the look of it. It doesn't want to go down. There we go. It's tucked under there as well, look. So just come along with some water, let the water get under the edge. But we're going to be taking the carrier film off anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But there we go, so we just roll it out like so. Roll it down. And once you've got it in position and it's rolled out, you can start to get a lot more aggressive with your cotton bud and really, really roll it down. You can see here the carrier film is wanting to come off already. You can see how well it's gone down over that bulge there. You can see that bulge if I can catch it in the light. It's gone down on that beautifully. Okay, so there we are. So that's that gone down. You can see we've still got air under there. There's air in all those little rivet holes. Got to get all that out. There's a panel line there. There's some, looks like raised rivets there, isn't it? Raised rivets. That's another little. No, it's not. What is it up there? It's like a line under there or something. Okay, so that's that down. And then if you want to, you can come along with a piece of paper and just push it down. But you can see there that it's gone down beautifully. I think that's a hair under there actually. It's a Jess hair, I expect. So there we go. It's probably in the paint. I'm just trying to work out. Yeah, it's got to be a hair. So what we could do is get the water in there, lift that and remove it. So I'll show you if I can make it work. I'll show you how to do that. So we can get some water under here. There we go. You can get the brush under there. Have we got it out? I think we just moved it in, didn't we? Get some more water, get the brush under. Just roll the decal back. And it's gone. So you can see people get really scared with decaling, but it's not actually that bad. As long as you've got good decals. Now if you've got that Takom Apache, the decals in there are the worst decals I've ever seen. If you've got a Hobby Boss 32nd scale Spitfire, the decals in there, awful. A lot of the older Tamiya kits, awful. Airfix kits, generally decals are amazing. A lot of the Revell kits, see a lot of the European manufacturers are now using an Italian company, I can't remember the name of it, starts with a Z or a Z, and you've got, there's another hair under there, you've got, they're using Cartograph as well, which is really cool. So there we are, so that's that one gone down. And as I say, we can come along with a piece of paper and just push it down if you want to. And we'll just leave that for a few seconds, and then we come along with the Mr. Mark setter and just brush that over the top. And just let that go down like so. And that's Mr. Mark setter, and that should set that decal in place. So we can leave that and see how it goes. So now we're going to do the same again, but this time we're going to use set and sol and see how well it performs. We're going to leave the camera on. If you're bored, fast forward or whatever. But we will be doing, at some point there'll be a break, and then I'll come back and do the lighter fluid bit. Put the decal in the water, 10 seconds. I'm guessing that's about 10 seconds. So we'll take it out, put it on a blotting paper, and I'm going to get some micro set and sol. So first we'll get some micro set. We'll take this brush, and we'll brush some micro set onto here. As you can see, once again, it all breaks up on the surface, it doesn't want to stay down. I need this one here to make sure I get this one in the same place. I'm going to see if it's ready to go, just make sure our finger's clean. Yep, the decal's ready to go. So it's going to go onto the wing, and it's going to go around about there. So I'm not going to touch it. Get some water under it, and hopefully it will let us move it. They'll often just start to go straight away. Now what I have found with a lot of decals is micro set, especially with border models decals, micro set just reacts to the glue and it just makes them go down like absolutely, and then you can't move them. Now that could be the case here. It's not because it's moving now, but if you do find that, like with border model, it's probably best to not use micro set. They're beautiful decals. Border models decals are very thin and they're very tough. I really enjoy using them, but I've had to find out the hard way that you do not use them with micro set. Okay, so I think I've got that in position. I'm looking at the rivet lines, I'm looking at the gun bays, I'm looking at it in relation to that one. So I've got it the same, they're symmetrical, yeah. So now I can just take my cotton bud. I'm not putting any pressure, I'll show you, got the end of the cotton bud like that. I'm just using the cotton bud to roll out anything that's in there. Okay, you could rub it if you want to rather than roll it, because these stick down very nice. Now that carrier film's lifted up there or gone under, so I'm just going to get my brush and pull it out again. Just pull it out like that and then put the decal back down. Yeah, it doesn't want to play ball. There we go. It's definitely rolled under, but it doesn't want to come back out. Maybe it does. There we go. So there we go, there's that little ridge down there again on this side. That little bulge. You can see how quick this goes down, it's lovely. Yeah, I would recommend with these decals don't use microset and sol, because it seems to be, it's not attacking it, but it seems to be very hot, and it's attacking the edge of the carrier film. It's making it quite hard edged, as you can see in a couple of places. So the cotton bud's absolutely saturated. I'll get another one. There we go, roll out the bubbles. There's a song in there somewhere. And there we go. They're lovely decals, but as I say, I would recommend sticking with the Mr. Hobby or your other chosen decal setting solution. It seems, as I say, with border model, they don't like microset, and I don't think these do either. Right. So now, as they say on the instructions, this is something nobody does because they don't read the bottle. What you do, another drop of microset over the top. Okay. So there we are, that's that done. And then just wait for it all to dry. And that's it. Now I'm going to go on off camera and put a, in fact I'll do it on camera. I'll put one of these fin flashes down. So we'll put that in the water for 10 seconds. That's about 10 seconds, isn't it, guys? It's all filmed live, I'm not doing any editing at the moment. So we'll put those over there, we'll get this ring and we're going to put that fin flash on here. So I'm going to use the, as directed by Peter, I'm going to use the Mr. Mark Softer. Just put that down there, clean my finger, check the decal, and we'll see if it's ready to go. And then what we can do is slide this on just like so, and then get it into position. You can see straight away it doesn't stick down to this like it does on the gloss. So we'll get it into position like that. Okay, then with the cotton bud, just roll it out again. You've got some very sharp bits and pieces to get over here, so this is giving the decal a really hard time. I don't know of many decals that would settle down into that recess there where that oil cooler or whatever it is thing goes. Straight away you can see them settling into the rivets. They are lovely, these decals. Very, very nice indeed. I can't wait to use them on a proper build. I'm going to be using them on my Val. And yes guys, I am going to be building that Val, definitely. This is the problem, you see, because it's a matte surface, the decal, the glue, because basically what you've got with a gloss surface, it's like a sheet of glass, it's flat. So the glue can go down, stick. This is like a load of pins sticking up in the air. So you've only got like the peaks for it to stick to. And that's why you get silvering. And I'm hoping that this is going to show you what I mean. But it's not letting me. Let's get some more Mr. Mark Setter on here. I'm not supposed to put this on the top, but I just want to get it to go down. You see, this is not good. Right, so this is no fault of the decal whatsoever. This is all about the fact that I've got it on a matte painted surface. And I'm glad in a way it's happening, because it shows you the importance of getting a gloss coat down. I can see here that this carrier film has rolled over on the edge again. I'm going to move it over to get it out away from that trough. Just like so. In fact, I'm going to put it like that so I can get this top corner in as well. But now you can see how easy I can move this around compared to how difficult it was with the others. So that's why I say gloss surface every time. And there's a lot of people out there that are probably going to comment below and say you don't need a gloss surface. I believe you do. So you won't get silvering if you've got a nice gloss surface. And we will also see, because this isn't sticking down, but I can still move it. There we go. We will also see that when we do the lighter fluid, this may actually lift the whole decal because it hasn't bonded properly to what's underneath. So there we are. So I'm going to put a couple of these down, and we'll go from there, and then we'll see when I come back. It'll be like a couple of hours for me, and then we'll look at how it comes off. Just something I forgot to do, lads. Guys, ladies, gentlemen, I forgot to put the microsole on. So the microsole is the red one, and this is the one that really pulls the decal down. But as I said earlier, I would recommend not using microset and sole on these decals. Or at least give it a go with a decal you're not going to use first and see what you think. Because I think the microset has attacked the carrier film and made it a bit soft on the edges straight away. And also, they glued down very quickly. So I've just brushed the microsole on there, and that will then pull it down. Once you've put microsole on, don't touch the decal because it's made it really, really soft. Okay, and it'll lift like paint. So we can see this one here. This has got the Mr. Mark Setter Neo on it, and that is pulling down into those rivets beautifully. Really, really nice quality decals these are. Right, as I said, I'm going to get some more on, and then I'll come back in a couple of hours and I'll see you then. And we're back. This is about an hour and 20 minutes afterwards. I had a message from Peter. Basically, I thought you would have to leave these for at least, 2 or 3 hours, and he says 30 to 60 minutes. So these should be absolutely fine. While I was off camera, I fitted some extra ones. This one here has gone down with the Mr. Hobby, Mr. Softer, Mr. Setter, and this one here I did with the Microset and Sole. I would thoroughly recommend, if you're experienced with doing decals, I think you'd be absolutely fine using the Microset and Microsole, but it does seem to be a little harsh. If you're using like the UMP, do a set of 3, start off with the softer one, because I really did have a problem with this one, and it also split. As soon as I put it down, it split. So I think maybe the Microset and Sole is a little hot for these, or it's just that I'm no good at doing decals. But they've certainly gone down beautifully. You can see there, I can catch them in light, the riveting is coming through beautifully. Really, really nice. You can see all the panel lines and everything in there. Absolutely gorgeous. This is before we've removed the carrier film. I've also gone on, I had another set here, which I found a set, and I'm not going to open it up, but the instructions are the same as this, but on this one it says about removing the film with Zippo with lighter fluid. This one doesn't, so I just wanted to see if it would work, and I've picked a set that that Peter sent me on a kit I'm very, very unlikely to build ever. So that's what I've done, which is what I try and do. I try and use the stuff that I'm not going to use. I mean, there's no way I'm going to show you how to do window masks on a flat piece of plastic with using the set from the Lancaster when I've got a Lancaster. It's just not going to happen. So anyway, so these have all gone down. They've all been down for about an hour and a half. And as I say, that's what I was saying. I went off track then. These are from that set. So I've got these down here. I've put down with nothing. These 3 roundels. Belgian Air Force here is gone down with Microset and Sol. Belgian Air Force here has gone down with Mr. Softer, Mr. Setter. One thing I did find with the Mr. Hobby one, if you leave it on there, it kind of goes like wallpaper paste, and it forms like a gunge, almost like a white glue on the surface, and you wet it and it kind of all just rolls off. But they do go down very well. You can see here, these have gone down beautifully. Rivet detail, everything is showing through. I think when we take the carrier film off, they really are going to look painted on. Now these here have gone down on the matte paint. I put this one down here, that's Jess outside, you can hear barking. I've put this one down here on the enamel paint, and it went down a lot nicer than that one. It certainly stuck down a lot nicer. So obviously the enamel paint has a sort of flatter finish than the stipply finish of the LP. This is basically LP 18, I think it's LP 18, yeah. Thinned with Mr. Colour Leveling Thinners. And you can see the decal's gone down nicely, but it's not really pulled down as well as the others. Where you can see there, in the riveting, where you can see white, that's where it hasn't pulled down. I would also recommend, if you're going to use these on a fin, like here, I mean this aircraft silver would be absolutely fine, but if you were putting those stripes on this fin here, then I would definitely paint the fin white underneath, because you can see there's a little bit of bleed through, which is only to be expected. The trouble with decal manufacture is, and I'm not a manufacturer, I'm not an expert, but they could easily make these thick enough so they don't show through the colour underneath, but then they'd be like Tamiya decals, they'd be so thick they'd be unusable. So there we go. You may also see this tool here. This is a High-Q Parts SQZ, Squeezy Z, I think they call it. And basically it's like a rubber cotton bud. You can get replaceable ends, and what you do is wet it on the end, and then you can use it like a cotton bud, and you can really push the decals down. Okay, now I tend not to use this very much now, because what I found in the past, what's happened, I think this has got a little bit sticky, and I've gone and it's rolled the decal up. So oh no! So I tend not to use it very much. But once the decals have gone down and they're kind of touch dry, I think it's safe. And if you've got ones that don't really want to go down, you can really push them down. And I'm putting a lot of force on there, and you can really push them down. It's a fantastic tool. And if you have got air bubbles, you can prick the air. I think I've got an air bubble there. You can prick it with a pin or the end of a knife blade and just literally touch it, and then roll over with this, and it will disappear. And as you can see, it has. But the thing is, what you've got here is where those rivets, where the decal hasn't gone down into those rivet holes, what's happening is you've got little air pockets, and as you roll the decal down and push it in, the air has got to go somewhere, and it can't come through. So what's happening is it's coming up into the surface. You can see I've got an air bubble. If you can see it, there's an air bubble there by the end of my finger. There you go. And I can probably push that out. There we are. You can see the water coming out from underneath, and that is the water or the setting solution that's still in the panel lines. Okay, so you can see there, that's another little tool you can use, and you can really work the decals in, but you have been warned, it will destroy the decals if you're not careful. So I mean, this is a scrap piece, it doesn't matter, but if this was a model I'd just spent 30-40 hours building, and that was the fin, if I just built that and I'd done all the bare metal and everything, I'd be gutted. I wouldn't want to be messing around with this, but I wouldn't put it down on a flat surface. So there we go. But I can push this down, really work it. Do the same on here. Because they're practically dried out, But as I say, Peter, sorry about Jess, she's barking at something. Peter has basically said that 30 to 60 minutes is ample. Oh, I'm going to try it, but if this was my Lancaster or my Aichi Val or even, you know, another one of my models, I'd want to leave them overnight before I try taking the film off. But we're going to give it a go. Like I said, it's been about an hour and a half, I think. That's what I said, wasn't it? So we're going to give it a go. So as you can see on this one, we have no silvering, but you can definitely see the carrier film on there. You can see the film around the edge. Same here. You can see the carrier film. Yeah, so remember I said about in that corner? And that's not silvering, but you can definitely see the carrier film. So we're going to see if we can get it off. Whereas if you look at this one where it's gloss coated, see what I mean? The carrier film isn't there. If I gave these a clear varnish now, a matte coat, you wouldn't see the carrier film. So there we go. So normally what I would suggest now with decals, go over with a soft cloth, wet, and wipe them over. Just, you know, you don't need to get it soaking wet. Just dip the corner in some water. Okay, get it damp. And then just go over your decals, wipe over them to remove any residual glue from the decal, any of your microset sole, any of your fluids, anything like that, anything at all, and just remove it, because otherwise the next thing you would do with normal decals is go over now and give them a clear coat, either matte or gloss or whatever. You'd go over and give them a clear coat, and if you've got all that stuff trapped underneath it, it'll look bloody terrible. So there we go, so we can wipe away all the excess solution, and you can see there on here, you can see the carrier film. So I'm going to do one of these first. I'm going to try this one first. So we'll grab some lighter fluid, if I can get it open. Lighter fluid is worth having, because if you want to put an oil wash on tracks, you need to be very, very careful. If they're link and length tracks, or link by link tracks, I think they're called tank tracks. If you use enamel thinners or some other thinners, they can attack the glue joints and the tracks will just fall apart. Whereas if you use lighter fluid, that won't happen. So I'm going to get an upturned Tamiya jar. I'm going to put some lighter fluid in there. Okay, just fold that down. And then I'm going to grab a clean cotton bud, dip it in the lighter fluid, and then we're going to see what happens. So we can see on here, if I can catch it in the light, I hope you can see that there's a carrier film around the edge. So I'm going to concentrate on the edge and rub it and see what happens. Now if this starts to lift the decal, I will stop. There we go, it started to lift the decal. So I don't think this is long enough. As you can see, it's just lifting the decal straight away. So I don't think the 30 to 60 minutes is long enough. Maybe I'm rubbing it too hard. It's certainly breaking it down. Yeah, I think I was rubbing it too hard there. It's certainly breaking it down, and it's coming off, and it's not damaging the decal. I was rubbing too hard. That was my fault. And these bloody cotton buds just fall apart. I'm all for the environment and everything, but since they changed the cotton buds to having a paper stem rather than a plastic one, they're absolutely useless for modelling. So maybe I need to get some more lighter fluid on here, get it really wet. Oh yeah, that's working beautifully now. It's taken away that bit on the edge there. I believe 30 to 60 minutes isn't long enough. Or it could be because I've used set and sole. Let's see what this one's like, because this one's got the Mr. Hobby. So we'll change ends. Okay. And we'll try this one. So remember, always use the manufacturer's suggestions, And the suggestions from the manufacturer in this case is to use the Mr. Hobby setting solutions, not Microsol. And there we go. I'm confident that if I left this longer, this would be more successful. But it's definitely lifting the carrier film. As you can see there, I think the bloody things are just falling to bits. I think the secret to this is to not use those cotton buds. I think the secret to this is to leave it longer and don't press too hard, don't be too aggressive with it. It's just evaporating straight away. No, it's too soon. It's not cured enough. So I'm going to leave that for another sort of 12-18 hours and see what it's like, because at the moment it's just not working, is it? It's not working at all. But to be fair, I don't think it needs to be done. I mean, I don't think it needs to be done at all. The carrier film is absolutely fine as it is. One thing I do just want to quickly try: enamel thinners. Now, you can experiment with this. Enamel thinners on some decals will remove the film, but you need to experiment, and it's no good saying it works with Revell decals, because some Revell decals it won't work. It's working with these. It's taking the film off. I think the secret here is to get it wetter rather than, yeah, the secret is to have it wet for it to come off rather than the rubbing action. The rubbing action is ruining the decal underneath. The wetness dissolves the film and then it just wipes away, as you can see. But I personally think it's too soon, and that's why it's ruining the decal. But certainly enamel thinners seems to do the trick. But enamel thinners is damaging the decal, so there we go. So enamel thinners is a no-no. So now we know. Right, that's what I love. Well, no, that's what you love about this channel. I'll also show you what not to do. So that one there has been put down with Microset and Microsol. It was done about an hour and a half ago, and I personally think it's too soon, so it hasn't worked. This one here was put down, sorry, that one here, this one here was put down with Microset and Microsol. This was done with Mr. Hobby, Mr. Softer, and Mr. Setter. Enamel thinners doesn't work. The lighter fluid has gone too quickly. It's been put on too quickly, I believe, so it hasn't worked. So there we go. But if you want a nice worn aircraft with painted on decals, you ain't going to get much better than that, because that looks painted on. It's really, really nice. And it's all tatty as well. So if that's the sort of look you're after, that could be a way to get it. Now this one here worked a lot better. This edge here I think was my fault. I was rubbing too hard. But at the end of the day, I think they need to be left for like 24 hours before you have a go. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave them for, I don't know, 12, 24 hours, whatever. I will let you know how long they've been when I come back. But I'm certainly not going to test these on this matte surface, because they'll probably just lift straight off. Or those where they've gone down with nothing. So, because I don't even know if it's going to work with them, because they're older decals. But certainly don't use enamel thinners. That's destroyed that decal. That one's absolutely fine. This one's all kind of, I don't know if you can hear that. It's all sticky. Whereas this one, it's all smooth. So there we go. We're learning. Right. I'll see you tomorrow for that for you. Okay, so about 18 hours later now. So we'll see how we go. I have just had a little play, and I've been rubbing over these decals that I previously did, and no more of the decal is coming off. So it would appear that it's all about letting them cure. I also quickly went over these here, and if you remember, these were put down with no setting solution or anything, and you can see that where I've rubbed them, wherever there's a panel line, obviously the decal hasn't pulled down because it's had no setting solution, and wherever there's a panel line, the decal has actually come away. You can see there and across there, you can see they've come away. So don't use them without setting solution is basically the answer. So we'll come along here now with some more lighter fluid, and we'll try on this one. This one here, remember this one here broke in half because I'd used the micro set, and we're just going to lightly rub over here. In fact, I'm going to get this cotton bud quite wet, and we're going to rub over gently and see what happens. I think I've been rubbing too hard, which is what's caused the problem. So we can basically get that wet, as you can see, and then the carrier film should just lift without taking any decal with it. And as you can see, it's working. It is working. I don't know if you can see that, but if you look here, you can see where the carrier film is lifted. And it's coming off, and the decal is absolutely fine. And this is where the split was, right here, right by that panel line there is where the split was. And I hope you can see that. You can see the carrier film coming away. So obviously the secret is to keep it wet. And it will just come away. And the decal is staying behind, and there is nothing lifting off and no colours coming off. You can see there's a slight residue of colour on the cotton bud, but nothing much. And I can tell by how much harder this is to lift. This is obviously the thing. It's about letting it cure, letting all the decal setting solutions dry out. You can see there it's come away where the panel lines are because it hasn't gone right down in. So obviously the decal's forming like a bridge, and it's not stuck down to anything in that little area where the panel line is. So it's actually lifting it off. So there we go. So there is our decal with the carrier film removed, and it's looking like it's painted on. Very, very nice indeed. So let's go across to the other side. Get the cotton bud nice and wet. So this one here was put down with the Mr. Hobby softer and setter. So again, getting it nice and wet. Let the lighter fluid do its thing and start to dissolve. The biggest problem with it is it evaporates so fast. It's quite warm, so it's evaporating very fast. As we can see, that carrier film is just lifting away. I mean, to be honest, if you are doing this, it's really the edges you want to do rather than the whole decal. It's really the edges that you want to get rid of the carrier film on. We can just roll it off of there. There we go. That's that all gone. I doubt if you can see the carrier film. Cotton bud's bloody falling apart. But I can see it's coming away, and I'm going to show you a close-up in a minute and you'll see. That's looking really good. There we are. No carrier film around the edges. That looks painted on. Slight bit of decal removed there where that panel line is. To be honest, I just think this, and it's like this one here, if you remember I destroyed this one with enamel thinners testing it, and it just looks very realistic, doesn't it? It looks damaged and realistic. If you're weathering your aircraft, I think it looks great. So there we are. So that's that. Right, now we have another couple of little tests to do. So I'll get this cotton bud wet with the lighter fluid. So this here was the older decal system, where it doesn't actually say in the instructions that you can use lighter fluid to remove the carrier film. So we'll see if it works on these. And it looks as though it does. Yes, it does. We can remove the carrier film from there, and you can see on there now there is no carrier film between those letters. So we'll just try that again on this one. This has gone down with the set and sole. And yes, it's lifting all that carrier film away, and we are left with just the letters and no carrier film whatsoever. I can catch that in the light, you can see there's no carrier film on there. Very, very nice indeed. Okay, so for our final test, and I think this will be quite destructive, we're going to see how they cope on matte paint. So you can see I've already started on this one. I just wanted to give it a quick test. If I rub this now, we can see the carrier film around the edge. You can see it here. I'll catch it in the light. You can see the carrier film around there. Okay, so if I rub that, that carrier film should lift off, and it is. You can see there it's gone. It's gone, so that has worked, but I'm a bit doubtful that this decal will live because it's on this matte painted surface, and it appears to be okay. The front edge here, it just literally just peeled off. Yeah, you can see here it's just coming away. Decals, I don't care what people say, decals do not like going down on matte painted surfaces. There are people that tell you don't need to gloss, and that's fine. If that's their opinion, that's their opinion, that's fine. But you can see how easily this is lifted off of here. There we go, it's all just coming away. It's because it's not, it can't bond to the matte surface because it's like a series of nails sticking up. And we'll just finally try that fin flash. We can see the carrier film around the edge of there. Okay, you can see the carrier film all down here, all the way around. So we'll get the decal nice and wet. We'll see what happens. This is on the Tamiya LP paint, so we'll see how well the decal holds up. And I think the secret of this is to keep it wet. It's having it wet with lighter fluid rather than just damp. It's let the lighter fluid dissolve the carrier film rather than the rubbing action. And as we can see, we've got a bit of the decal coming off there. That's funny, the red's coming away and the white isn't. And that is purely because it's on a flat painted surface. But again, we do have this lovely sort of, where it's torn, it looks like it's chipped and weathered and worn. It looks great, doesn't it? Cotton bud's falling apart. Bloody rubbish. And there we go. So, what have we learnt? What should you have picked up from this video? Basically, these decals are wonderful. There are so many choices, so many schemes. They go down beautifully, they come off the paper quickly, and they go down lovely. You have the option at the end of the day to remove the carrier film with lighter fluid. My suggestion is always put them down on a gloss coat, and that is my suggestion with every single decal you ever use. You'll never see me put decals down on a flat coat. I always gloss coat before decals, and that is why they don't stick down onto a flat surface, which is why you get silvering. Silvering is basically the carrier film where it hasn't gone down, it hasn't glued down. Always use setting solutions, and my suggestion is to use the Mr. Hobby Soft and Setter. These two here, Mr. Mark Softer, Mr. Mark Setter, or just using the Mr. Mark Setter. The only trouble is with that one is it leaves this sort of sticky gooey mess on the surface, so make sure you get rid of that before painting. So always use a setting solution, put them down on a gloss surface, and if you're going to do this removing the carrier film, leave them 24 hours and don't rub too hard, just get them wet and rub. As you saw with this one, it's absolutely fine, and this one here is absolutely fine. That's what to do. Personally, having seen these down on a gloss surface, I don't think you need to remove the carrier film. The carrier film is very, very thin. I don't think you need to remove it. It's probably nice to do, but they're so nice. You don't need to. But it is good to have that painted on. Look, as you can see, like with this one here, you can see you've got some of the colours gone there where I've rubbed it away. That was where the split was. But you know, that definitely does look painted on. There's no sign of any carrier film there. There's a bit left here, I can see. I've got no lighter fluid left now. There's a little bit of carrier film left around there. I don't know if you can see that on there. But if you look like round up here, there's nothing there at all. It's like it's painted on. So you pays your money, you takes your choice. But with these ASK decals, there are some fantastic options out there. Some fantastic versions you can be doing of your model aircraft. Like for instance, you know, who else does a load of Chinese decals for a 32nd scale franc? It's like, so there we are. So hopefully you've learned something from that. I've tried to cover the basics. So as I say, always use a setting solution. With these decals, you're probably better off using the Mr. Hobby ones, as I just said. Get them down. If you're going to try removing the carrier film, leave them at like 24 hours. Always put them on a gloss coat. And there you go. And if you don't fancy doing the carrier film removal, don't worry about it. And for those who are fairly new to the hobby, you saw me use enamel thinners to try and remove the carrier film. Have a little play yourself with any spare decals you've got on a model. Make sure you put them down on a gloss surface and then try enamel thinners and see if you can remove them. Don't ever think that just because I've got a Revell kit and it worked, that's going to be the thing for the future. It's not the case. I have had Revell kits where the decal, the enamel thinners works, removing the carrier film. There was another one I did a test on a Airbus A380, and I found that the actual ink was on top of the carrier film, and when I rubbed it with enamel thinners, I ended up with no decal, just carrier film. So be careful with what you're doing. But there we go. At the end of the day, if you use Set and Solution and you put them down properly and they've pulled down nicely, you don't need to remove the carrier film. So it's as he says in the instructions in here, if necessary. So there we are. And you can obviously do it with the older type decals as well. And they are, that is probably the most successful one of the batch. That one there, you can see there is absolutely no carrier film on there whatsoever. So there we are. Thank you for watching. Hope you've learned something. Any questions or comments, pop them in the comments down below. And I'll see you soon for another one. Bye for now.